On the DNVR Broncos podcast, we are giving our boldest predictions for the NFL draft and maybe some NCAA tournament talk as well.
Ooh, I like that.
Let's get into it.
Oh, no.
DNVR Broncos Live, coming to you from Studio A, where the A stands for Are You Okay?
I actually don't know. I really have no idea. So I was gone Thursday and Friday last week because I left. Well, I was supposed to leave super early Thursday to get to Vegas in time for all of the day one games.
Yeah.
But then Montana was here. And so I had to change things around and wound up working that for Skyline Sports up in Montana, shout out to them, which meant that not only was I like not getting out till later, but also that I was just like cramming, writing as fast as I could up until the flight that night. And then it was Vegas up until last night. And so, like I said before the show, like I've got a bunch of money in my pocket. Could be $300, could be $1,300. And there's just, these are all the types of things you have to figure out at some point after you get back. And I haven't gotten to that point yet.
That was a slight flex.
Well, I took a lot of money out. I think either way, it might not have gone great.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, even being able to start with 2,000 is a flex, in my opinion.
Yeah. I did not do that, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I did bet every underdog.
You bet every underdog while in Vegas or like just on your app, like on Bet365?
Well, I was able to do the first round in the app, but since I was there, I couldn't do it through the app because I was in Vegas. So those ones I bet in Vegas.
Okay. What a disaster.
Yeah, no, this is it's the end of dogs. Dogs are dead.
So I'm gonna ride this out for the rest of the tournament because I have to stand on something in life. And then I'm gonna give it next year. And if the same thing happens next year, then the dogs are dead because like the NIL and transfer portal might just be killing the underdog. It's the first Sweet 16 ever since we called it the Sweet 16. And not just the tournament, that was comprised of entirely major conference teams. Not a single mid-major team made it. No Creighton, no Gonzaga.
Almost Colorado State.
Gonzaga?
Okay,
I saw the Kelvin Sampson thing, and it's already messing me up.
It was Gonzaga. Well, because they're the Zags.
Right.
So that's the easy way to remember. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, no Colorado State.
They were so close.
So close.
I was on the plane, and the guy next to me had it on his phone, so I was just like peeking over, and I was like, "Oh, that's a heartbreaker." Because so like for me, I covered CU, and I learned to hate CSU mostly because of Lindsay and Eric upstairs. I was like, "Oh, I want these two to be sad because they're kind of annoying about it."
Yeah.
But then over time, they've settled down, or maybe it's because I've moved on, and so like I've been like a little bit more open to it, but still like kind of want to see him lose. Except for Neek is on that team. And I really like Neek. And so that's where I was like, I would love to see him make a run.
Yeah, I mean, I was on all the dogs. So
me too.
I'm on CSU for, I think, the first time in my life. And I just got to experience like a little small percentage of what it feels like to root for CSU.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I got
100% it.
I got to say this. I said this on Twitter this morning. If you're a CSU fan, I totally get the like, that was a travel thing. Like, I'd be doing the same thing.
Yep.
For everyone else, there's no chance of that getting called.
No, that's not ever getting called.
And I'm not even saying like they're not calling that on the last play of the game. Like they're not calling that on the first play of the game
No,
either.
they're not. No, I mean that's just the way basketball works now.
Yes.
Again, because it always just gets rounded to not a travel. So unless it's like such a clear,
gotta be egregious.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how it works. 3 steps is like the number. If they consider it like, it's like 2.873, it's like, nope, not a travel, you know?
Well, and the other thing is like, I don't think I've seen the steps travel called in years.
Yeah.
Like we get the drag your pivot foot, those types of travels.
Or like you start your dribble too late off the 3-point line.
Yeah, or you did the shuffle thing. I haven't seen just like the going to the hoop steps travel called in God knows how long. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it is very sad, especially for us.
Yeah, and then they lost their coach this morning.
Yeah. Which, hey, they held on to him longer than I think you probably would have expected. It was a good run. And he leaves the program in a good spot. Promote Ali Farokhmanesh. Well, I don't know that I've ever been the one to say his name before.
Yeah.
I've heard it, but I've never.
Farokhmanesh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a good option inside. They'll be fine.
When I was I had to be high school, I guess, when Farokhmanesh hit the game winner over Kansas. Like, you'd all, you know how everyone would do like Kobe, like you just like say something when you're shooting something.
Farokhmanesh.
We started doing Farokhmanesh, and then it would be Strokemanesh.
Wow.
So he's kind of a legend to me.
Wow. Wow.
All right, you got any? By the way, speaking of things that are dead, like the travel, the old "what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas."
Oh, that is dead?
That's been dead for years.
Boy.
Social media killed that.
Oh, that changes everything then.
So I was gonna say, you got any good stories you want to share?
Yeah. Geez. So get there Friday night or Thursday night. Sorry. Stay up till I think we got to bed like 4:30. You know how Vegas goes. Wanted to be the circa
totally acceptable
stadium swim by 8 a.m. when it opens because that's the only way you get like a lounge chair.
Yeah.
And so then it means you wake up at 7:30 and it's 3 hours of sleep and you just grind through that day.
Which is doable.
Yep. We had a golf tournament Saturday, fun format.
Like just
scramble.
internal golf tournament?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So 15 of us. So there was one team of 3 instead of 4, but scramble.
Did they get a hit too?
Yeah. We rotated. It was my team.
Nice.
And the twist was for if you ever want a mulligan, you can always have a mulligan as long as it has to be a shotgun of beer. More painful. Yeah.
I like that
better.
better.
Shot, you can put them back.
Yeah.
But there were holes where like one of the groups, 4-man team, one guy had 2 mulligans, another had 2 mulligans, another had 2 mulligans, and one had 1 mulligan, still got a bogey. So they get to the next tee box and it's like shotgun.
7 beers?
Yep, 7 beers for a bogey.
Oh, that's tough.
That is really tough. Yeah.
What were they? How long was the putt they were trying to make?
I didn't see it. Okay. I didn't ask, but it was not good. And then so my group, we were 1 shot back going into the final hole, but we hadn't used the second drive because you got to use 2 drives from everybody from one of our players. Oh. And it's a par 3.
Oh, you guys got really in the weeds with the rules.
Yeah. No, those were the only like real rules, but there were a couple rules. And so we got there and it's like, well, luckily he's got 2 shots off the tee. Unfortunately, he shotguns so many beers right now, he can't swing with anything other than his arms. So I'm up there saying like, buddy, like, come on, like get your hips into it, just get your body into it. Yeah. I was even thinking like maybe just take driver here because you're not going to get it clean. So it might just dribble on up there.
Yeah. Was it par 3?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know. And so he hits the 2 shots. Neither of them get halfway there, and because they're all arms.
What course were you at?
It was the Sunrise. The Sunrise at something.
Okay.
Not the no offense to the Sunrise. It had water on the right on every hole. You get to which it boggles your mind, right? Like how is there water on the right on every single hole? But you just play basically the exact same hole in like par 3 version, par 4 version, par 5. And it's just it's all the exact same.
Okay, I played a pretty bad course in Vegas once too, but I can't remember what it was called. When you said par 3 18th, I thought it might be the win course because I watched the
Live.
The match.
That was there too. Yeah,
and I remember the last hole being a par 3.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would have been.
I would love
better.
That. All right.
Without further ado, let's get to the topic of the day.
Yeah. Without further ado.
All right.
Can we start? You guys probably talked about Lil'Jordan Humphrey a bit.
Yeah.
But I was gone.
Oh, and that's your guy, kind of.
Yeah.
You're the big Jordan Humphrey guy.
Exactly. People forget that. But I think that he always took a lot of heat because in terms of receivers, people usually value like speed and catching ability.
Yeah.
And Lil'Jordan provided a couple plays, but wasn't necessarily like a superstar by any means at receiver. But I do think that this is probably a bigger loss than I'd imagine the fan base gives credit for.
Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of, it's almost like media versus fans.
Oh, really?
On Lil'Jordan Humphrey. Like,
interesting.
Like I saw someone specifically say like, why is the media trying to gaslight us into thinking that Lil'Jordan Humphrey was good?
And so I've been gaslighting you all year, but it's like there's so many clips going back that I've cut up and shown because so he was used the second most of any receiver on the team last year. So 50% of the time he was on the field. And the reason was because he's a really, really good blocker. So you line him up in the slot and say like, we need you to get to the second level, take out a linebacker, all those little screens to Marvin or Jaleel. who were among the highest targeted screen players in the NFL this year, those all work because Lil'Jordan's out there and you trust him to make his block. So that's why he gets out there. And then if that's your fastball is like, let's get Lil'Jordan to block, you get the changeup, which is like, okay, run him on a little drag, run him up, like see if you can catch the defense off guard, provides something in the receiving game as well. So I'm curious to see how they replace him. So obviously they signed Trent Sherfield, who's known as like a good blocker.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, I don't think they want him on the field too much offensively. I almost look at it as maybe you just go to an extra tight end with Evan Ingram more often than not. And that's how you do it. And then the other piece is like, how much of that is Devon Vele ready for? Because he's a solid blocker. He's not Lil'Jordan, but he's on that path.
It's a fun like little thing for the wide receiver coach and Sean Payton to have in their back pocket. Like, Lil'Jordan played half the snaps last year, not because he's a good receiver, because he's a good blocker. One of you has that ability to just commit yourself to blocking and get yourself a lot more playing time and eventually a lot more money. It's an interesting thing where like, I hope that in week 6 of next year, you aren't able to come on here and be like, I told you I wasn't gaslighting you about Lil'Jordan Humphrey. The
screen game died.
He was actually really good, and now we can't free up Marvin Mims or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully someone steps up in that role, but it is true. Like when you're building a roster, sometimes you get guys just for a specialty.
Yep.
And they don't need to be good at anything else. And not that he was bad at everything else. It was just he was better than the average player at one very specific thing that he was used for a lot. Exactly.
And I think that's true of a bunch of the Broncos receivers. Like Marvin Mims, for example. He's just really fast. And like he made a couple plays downfield, and that was kind of the first step of development, where he's like jumping up and making tough catches. You're like, okay, so now he has the speed to run after the catch, to do whatever, and he has that. You're hoping he adds the ability to run routes and kind of get open underneath, or adds like the feel for space. And I think he might. But I would say that's kind of my complaint with so much of the Broncos skill position players, is just that they are kind of one-trick ponies or two-trick ponies. You don't hear about those as often. But with Lil'Jordan gone, it's like you do just need somebody to step up. And between Evan Ingram and Devon Vele, you could probably fill that. But you just need Devon to take another step in terms of like his ability that way to make it all work out in the end.
And I think that Sean Payton probably has a short list of players who might just be like street free agents.
True.
He's like, if one of you guys can't do this, I'll find somebody who will.
Yeah. And you do have Trent Sherfield there too, who like there is another roll of the dice.
Absolutely. And Sherfield, I mean, you brought him here to play special teams.
Yep.
Again, you're like, you want offensive snaps? Do this.
We got
even
7
better.
for you.
Yeah, exactly. Any other NFL news that came out this weekend that you wanted to hit on?
Tyler Conklin going to the Chargers, I think, is interesting.
Okay.
Because I would say, in terms of like my favorite tight ends, I would probably prefer Tyler Conklin to Evan Ingram. Now, in a Sean Payton offense, it's not even close. You want the Evan Ingram type. So I'm curious to see how that plays out there, because he is such a good fit, like that well-rounded tight end whom he'll never have 114 catches in a season, but I think he has a 700-yard season already. On top of that, can block in that offense with Harbaugh. I think he might be able to take a step forward instead of just kind of being that, league average tight end that feels like he was kind of pigeonholed as it with the Jets.
What did the Chargers finish as record-wise last year?
Is it 9 wins? No, it would have been 10.
And then what happened?
Then they lost to the Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Justin Herbert, still no playoff wins.
Yeah, that is true.
Sheesh. I was the number one pushback on Harbaugh guy.
Oh, okay.
And it feels like I'm 1 for 1.
Yeah, no, you are 1 for 1 so far.
They were the same team.
It is a nice start. They absolutely were. They weren't giving up 6 yards per run last year, which was a big change from the previous years, and they were running for more than 3.5 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then they just regressed in the other way, so it all bounced out in the end.
And that was my whole thing. I was like, this isn't a Jim Harbaugh thing. It's a Chargers thing.
Yep.
There's just, in my opinion, no, Vince Lombardi couldn't change them from just being the Chargers.
I agree. They are the Chargers. I think part of it is just being California based. First of all, they were in San Diego. It's
just
if I was in
automatically
San
makes you
Diego,
soft.
exactly, it does, and it just changes your priorities. And like, it's a lot easier to go home when you lose and just be like, oh, I still live a nice life. Like, this is still good. You go back home when you lose in Buffalo, not only is it like cold and miserable and the food is bad and all that sort of stuff, there's also the fact that everybody in Buffalo then wants to kill you. You know, it's like you are now hated. Like, you go outside, not that you'd ever want to there anyway. Then there's that as well. Whereas you go back to San Diego, nobody cares that you lost. There's like, oh, you're a celebrity. This is cool.
Right,
Same
like,
in LA, kind of that
Great
same thing.
surfer hair, Justin Herbert.
Exactly. It's like, oh, cool, Justin Herbert, come take a picture. It's not, I want to kill your family, which is wrong, but like, it just changes life.
Speaking
a bit.
of, and this will be quick, but I saw a commercial yesterday for not tweeting at players after they blow your parlay.
Yeah.
Where we have to do PSAs about that now.
No, yeah. There's, yeah,
And I mean this from the bottom of my heart.
it's evil.
If you have ever lost a bet and been motivated to attack a player, seek so much help.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Yeah. As somebody who has been very close with a social media manager for a while now, there are programs that will automatically filter things out, so you can like hide comments and stuff, and you can also go back and just look through all those hidden comments through the program and like search by like racial or like whatever,
God.
and they are awful. Like, whatever you think of, it's so much worse.
Yeah.
It's like kind of scarring even just to read all of them back to back to back.
Seek help, please.
Seek help, yes.
I've actually been seeking help for my diet recently.
I also love the comment. What about Raheem Moore?
Shout out to not Raheem Moore.
No.
Shout out to our friends over at Factor. In my opinion, the key. So I've been going steady on this wedding diet for I think almost 2 months now.
Wow.
And to me, the key is Factor. And the reason is because the easiest way to break your diet, in my opinion, is you just get so hungry that you become lazy. And you're just like, all right, well, I'm just going to go get fast food, or I'm just going to order DoorDash or whatever. Factor saves you there because there's just always something in the fridge. And like, as bad as you want to do, to eat something so indulgent, you're just like, but that's actually harder than just going to the fridge and getting a Factor box. Not to mention, they're also delicious, nutritious, available, and they send them straight to your door. Not suspicious at all, or auspicious.
Well, not auspicious, no.
And also, just got a text. Mine's on its way today. So you just comes every week, shows up at your door. You have your food,
and then you don't have to do the dishes.
Hey, you're right. Another dub is that you don't have to do the dishes. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast and use code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
And also, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Monarch Money. I mentioned, I don't know where I am financially. Like I did last week, look through all the stuff. It's like, okay, bank account here, betting accounts here. Payments for Nuggets Nav season tickets. This is on the way with playoffs and all that. Investing account, all that. So I was going through and being okay, how much money do I have? And am I going to what's this going to look like? Then I went to Vegas for 4 days and everything I learned out the window. I could be up so much money. I could be down so much money. When I get home today, I'm going to go back and do the exact same thing, get a little audit of myself.
Yeah.
And you know what would have been easy? Is if at 3 a.m. I was just tracking all that stuff with Monarch Money, so I wouldn't have this question over my head of am I rich? Am I about to move into a box? It's a tough life that we live when we go to Vegas. And Monarch Money helps with so many different things. If you're overspending on shopping or you found some sort of unexpected spending pattern, if you're wasting money, whatever, stressed about not saving as much, Monarch Money is here to help. They help you manage your finances. They'll track all your accounts, your credit cards, investments. You always know where your money stands without the hassle. It's a top recommended personal finance app. It's Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Over 30,000 5-star reviews. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use DNVR at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR.
All right. Well, earlier I said without further ado, let's get to our topic, which we didn't do.
Yeah, there was a little to do.
Oh, there was more to do.
There was. With more to do.
So now, wait, someone said something in there. Oh, no, never mind. We'll skip it.
The Raheem Moore thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raheem Moore also doesn't deserve your words of hate.
He's gotten plenty. He's heard it.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. All right. Boldest draft predictions. Do you have like a list here? Do you have some ones that you want to go to? Because I was going to say, should we start Broncos and then go broader? Or
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with our boldest Broncos draft prediction.
So I'm torn between two. I'll throw them both out there and we can talk through
We'll
them.
go with the boldest
Go
one,
with the bolder
and then
one?
we'll go with the second boldest one.
They're trading up for Jeanty.
Okay, that was going to be
Yep.
my boldest
I
as
thought,
well.
yeah. Well, then you take that one. I'll take the other. Because I'm torn 50-50, two things.
Yeah, the boldest move that they could possibly make, in my opinion, would be to trade up for a running back.
Also maybe the smartest.
It goes against all kind of like conventional draft thinking. First part is don't trade up. That's what what they say.
That is what they say.
And the other thing is like don't overdraft a running back. This would go against both. It would be really bold. And the thing that I would love about it is like Sean Payton would make this move only if he thinks it's going to eventually make him look like a genius.
Yep.
And like there's nothing he would love more than to make a move that people are like, I don't know about this. It goes
That
against
is
all
true.
conventional wisdom, and then it ends up looking really good. And he's like,
Yeah.
look, I know everything and you guys know nothing.
Exactly. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a great point. The fact that everybody would say, "What are you doing?" That might be his favorite part about it.
Yes.
Like when you think of like what is the right thing to do. I mean, we're talking about a man who's traded up, what is it, 17 times as a head coach and has never once traded down in the draft. So you look at that and say like, okay, the trading up thing, that we don't have to be concerned about that being a bad idea in his mind. Drafting a running back. Hey, guess who his first draft pick ever was? Reggie Bush. So I think I could totally see it. And I do think he would love to shock the world and then just say it worked.
Now we go to the logic part of this. What does that trade look like in your opinion?
Well,
Because I know what Dre told me last week, a second and a third. And I asked, can I get that third to next year? And he said, and I think I even said, like, this is the Henry question.
Yeah.
And he said yes. And I said, cool, I'm in.
Yep. I'm 100% in. And I would do stupid things for Ashton Jeanty. Like, to me, there's a tier of those guys at the top where it's like, if Travis Hunter, if you do something, if you trade your next 2 first-round picks along with this one and go get Travis Hunter, I'm gonna clap for you afterward.
Well, you got 2 players anyway.
Exactly. 3 picks, 2 players, easy.
Yeah.
So like, if you want to go crazy for Jeanty, he's another one of them.
Okay, well, let's play how crazy would you go for Jeanty. So you're in on first this year, second this year, third next year.
Absolutely.
What about first this year, second this year, third this year?
Yes, with the caveat of I'm probably making another trade to get a day 2 pick somehow.
Okay.
But yeah.
First this year, second this year, second next year.
So my brain would say that's probably across the line. My heart would say
Doesn't matter. You have Ashton Jeanty.
exactly.
Yeah.
If Ashton Jeanty is LaDainian Tomlinson, you're not going to look back and say like, oh, what a mistake that was. Wow, we probably could have saved a round on that draft pick.
Yeah. What if he's just like Breece Hall though?
That would be really disappointing. 'Cause I don't even think I'd take Breece Hall in the first round.
Okay.
A good running back,
Yeah.
like fringe Pro Bowler year after year. But I mean, first round pick is tough. Like there's so many guys in the second round. Why not Quinshon Judkins instead? You know.
And that's the number one thing that gives me a little bit of pause here from like quote unquote selling the farm, which I don't necessarily think these trades are doing that, but for lack of a better term, is just there's a lot of talent. There's so much talent behind him at the position that like there is a decent chance that he doesn't even end up being the best running back out of this draft.
Totally.
And so I think I'm slightly lower on Ashton Jeanty than a lot of people. Like I'm at the very, 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 very good, not generational stage, which people are like mad. Some people are mad at me for.
I believe it.
But
I'm not one of them for what it's worth.
I still
Is it Dre?
no.
Okay.
It's just internet people.
Okay.
I still am on board with making the bold move to go get him because of the Sean Payton effect. Like if that's what Sean believes in, then he's calling his shot on generational running back.
Yep. 100%. And just looking at these numbers. So if you trade this year's first, this year's second, that should get you either the 11th or 12th pick. The number's kind of in between when you just look at the trade charts. You throw in the third this year, and instead of between the 11th and 12th, you're between the 7th and 8th.
So third next year kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. You could drop it down a couple spots. Again, you're probably competing with the Raiders at number 6. All it takes, though, is for them to say, like, let's just go get a tackle, for example, or one of these. There's some good defensive players. If he gets past the Raiders, then there's no reason. Like, I guess the Bears at 10 kind of jump out. So if you did do next year's third with the first and second, you could get in front of the Bears and go get Ashton Jeanty.
Totally.
I would love it. My other one, I'll go the Broncos pick a defensive player. I think for all that we
in the first round.
Yep. For all that we talk about, like running back or tight end, or I even said a couple months ago, like we all know running back, tight end, those are the biggest holes. You can get the biggest upgrades, and that makes so much sense in theory. I still took the field against that just because there's so many guys on the board. You don't know where everything's going to shake out. And I think that even though we all know what you need right now is juice, there's a good chance that the best players on the board are defensive players, and your options are saying like, hey, we can go get a Marion Hampton, and we think he's a solid player. He might be a reach at 20, though, for, again, fringe Pro Bowl type running back, not generational type running back. But we could also go over there and get a sick defensive lineman who's still on the board. And we know that next offseason, John Franklin-Myers, Malcolm Roach, and Zach Allen are all free agents. And so we're going to be in this real pinch. If we have somebody in-house before then, it just makes that whole process easier. And then we got could have throwing corner in there, safety in there, linebacker in there. That's where I like the value of just somebody on defense.
Yeah, so Dre and I kind of had a similar conversation about this on Friday, and it was because someone had a mock draft out. All media are the same to me, so I don't know who it was.
They're all about this tall.
The Broncos traded out of the first round to pick up like 3 additional picks in the draft, but Derek Harmon was on. That's who they traded up for. It was like the Browns or someone traded up for Derek Harmon, and I'm just like, well, why wouldn't you just take Derek Harmon? Like,
totally,
he's right there.
Yep.
And then the other people on the board were Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka, and I'm like, yeah, I can't sign off on this.
Yep.
Like, I would take any of those 3 over having like 36, 59, and 98 or something.
I get it. I also think that the second and third rounds of this draft, that's where the value is to me. Like, honestly, it's maybe it's in like the top 5 picks because you do have Travis Hunter, Jeanty, Abdul Carter, Mason Grant. Like, you got those guys at the top, and then after that, I like Emeka Egbuka. There are other good receivers that are going to be around, and if you can get multiple swings or like all those running backs being able to take one of those while also tapping in the defensive line depth, or also tapping into like even the edge rusher depth, which maybe that's the one spot where you say like, we've got everybody in this room under control for at least 3 more years. So maybe that is one where you say we don't need it. But I love all those guys. I just realized I had a dream Landon Jackson got drafted in the first round last night.
Who's that?
Arkansas. He's huge. 6'6". He has like a 40-something inch vertical, like just insane freak athlete. Like, he could be such a great Bronco. So I generally love the idea of trading down. I think this is another draft where the value is there, like pick 50 to like pick 70. At the same time, Sean Payton's never traded down, so it might be a waste of breath anyway.
I think it is. And again, everything that the Broncos have done this offseason tells me Sean Payton thinks they're close. And so he's going to be thinking like, well, give me my best chance at getting one of these missing pieces.
Yeah.
And so that's my second boldest take. And it's really not bold, except for on this specific podcast, because Zach has just tried to like beat it into our heads that Sean Payton likes the wide receiver group.
Yes.
I think Sean Payton wants us to think that he likes the wide receiver group so he can go get himself another wide receiver.
I think so too. I think you could see the perfect fit with Emeka Egbuka too. Or just so smooth, so like the way he catches and runs with the ball and the physicality and the route running and all that sort of stuff. Like, those guys who are just blends of every good trait. Like, in some ways, it kind of feels like Justin Jefferson back in the day where you're like, yeah, he's not super fast. He's not super big. Like, yeah, he catches the ball. But at the same time, this is the NFL. You need another trait. Then you look and you're like, wait, they're the same size. They do some similar things. And those are the guys who kind of pop. Not saying he's Justin Jefferson, but typically those are the receivers you want to bet on. But Matthew Golden, I'm in love with him too.
I know. That's the thing is like, I'm in love with Golden.
Yes.
I am very much in like with Luther Burden. And I think I'm in love with Ibuka.
Here, Burden just scares me. So he has like what was it? Almost 1,300, 1,276 or whatever.
Yep.
In 2023, plays every game this year, and I think finished with like 575, 676.
Something.
It's like,
he was kind of like the only threat they had.
Totally. And it was a terrible offense and all of that, but me and Dre ran through the numbers last week, and there's like three receivers who were healthy enough to play like more than half the games in their final year before being drafted, who had, I can't remember if it was less than 700 or less than 600 receiving yards. But it was not the group you want to be a part of. It's like Darius Hayward-Bay was in there.
Yeah, he brought that up.
Oh, did he? Yeah. He texted me that morning. I should have realized he did. And I also think maybe there's a little bit of Marvin Mims in him. Or it's like,
I don't know how much Marvin Mims, but I think it's too much, which is why I don't think the Broncos would take him.
Yeah.
Like I said,
you already have that guy.
I'm only in like with him.
That's good.
But Ibuka is kind of changing the way I feel about this because he really should be there at 20.
The vibes are that he will be there.
And also, I really, really, really like T-Mac. And I think that people are talking crazy about him.
Yep.
Like he's not really like that.
Yeah. And I don't... Sean Payton loves talking about that NFL training. Maybe I've been on it, but I mentioned like there's that tier at the top where it's like you just do whatever it takes to go get him. Like if you like him, there's a fit. Ashton Jeanty, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carr. T-Mac was in there for me like a month ago, and for some reason, I think it's just all the vibes from the outsiders.
Don't let the outsiders change you, bro.
Exactly. T-Mac is up there. T-Mac should be one of the 8 guys first off the board in this draft, and if he's there at 20, he's an easy pick.
I think so too. And I don't know. But that's the same thing with, and we'll hit a break here in a second. It's the same thing with T-Mac. Like, people are just, I don't know. There's nothing, I guess it's similar to Burden in the sense that he had a down year compared to the year before. Yeah. So people kind of get caught up in that. I watched a lot of Arizona this year. They were a hapless football program. Mm-hmm. And they lost a really, really, really good offensive-minded coach and brought in some random guy off the street.
Yep.
And so, obviously they were going to fall off.
Yeah, and the fall-off for T-Mac was a fall-off to 1,200 yards and a first-team All-American. Yeah. Which was a fall-off, which is just why it's so encouraging, all the things that he'd done before that.
Absolutely. All right, shout out to Toyota. Nothing I love more than my Toyota. Most reliable car I've ever had, and it's really not even close. I have personally owned 3 cars. Won't throw the other brands under the bus, but they are famous businesses, and they don't even come close to the reliability of my Toyota or any of the features, or honestly, in any category. There's not one category that my old cars could beat my Toyota, except for the sound system I had in my car when I was like 16. But that was aftermarket,
Yeah. You could do that with your Toyota.
I could get the 16-inch sub in the back again.
What would Allie think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is tough. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
I should try.
I don't think that she would have no opinion, though.
That's true. That would be.
I think it would be one or the other.
That would be unlikely. Anyways, what is likely is that Toyota is going to be reliable. It's going to be beautiful, and you're going to get the best service you can possibly get if you go check out one of our friends at the Front Range Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corbin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota, Eastern Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
And we want to give a shout out to our friends over at UC Health, because DNVR Broncos is brought to you by UC Health, the preferred partner of athletes in Colorado. Being healthy is important. Like I said, I mean, Vegas the past 4 days, as part of my audit of myself on my return, I need to hit the scale and just see what was this like. Did all the standing and golfing and sweating and all that stuff that helps balance out the fact that the food that I ate was not food. I did a good job ordering side salads with all of the greasy foods that I ate.
Nice.
Kind of drenched them in ranch though, which might.
Yeah.
We'll figure out what
Montana
happened.
way.
But now it's time. What is it? We got 2 months to Mexico, so it's time to eat healthy, go to the gym, make up for the past month
Bad
or so.
decisions.
Yes, we're going to solve all those, and UC Health is going to be proud of me because they're proud of all of us who take our health seriously. If you want to learn more about living like there is a tomorrow, you can go to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary. Also, can give a quick shout out. I think we got a second. Reminder, become a diehard so that you can read all of our stuff. Like this podcast on YouTube. Give us 5 stars in the podcast app and reviews. All that stuff helps more than I think people realize because it's all just based on all those algorithms, and those are the things that we really appreciate, along with you just watching. But yeah, leave a comment, all that stuff. Live draft show is going to be coming up 1 month from today is when the draft starts.
Holy smokes.
So be ready for that. We'll be out there at Stoney's. You can buy tickets. Comes with like a few drink tickets. It comes with a buffet.
Yep.
I love a good buffet. And me and Dre on the stage for hours on end.
And I might be there too.
Wait, really?
I could be anywhere.
You could be anywhere.
You guys should have to like bid for me.
Okay.
There's also gonna be a Buffs draft show.
Yeah. I can offer free tacos and my 3 drink tickets.
That's a good deal.
Okay. There's a start.
I'll put it up to Jake.
There's a start. Okay. Let me know what he
See
says.
if he can match.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other? Well, actually, can we just talk about a little more about T-Mac?
Yes.
And maybe it's one of those things because someone said in the comments like T-Mac at 20. I think we're dreaming. A month ago, yes.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden there's like negative press around him, and it's so Sean Payton.
It is.
Big wide receiver. We talk about. I think it was with Benny. How like he just wants someone who can just print slants.
Yep.
You have
Slant
that
guy.
on both sides now.
Yep.
And T-Mac might even be a little bit better than Court at that.
I think so.
And I feel the same way about jump balls. I think T-Mac's in the category that Court was pre-injury.
Yep.
Where he's just going to go and just moss people left and right. It would really put teams on the other side in a real predicament if you're going to have to cover Cortland Sutton, Tetoria McMillan, and Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
On most passing plays.
Yep. And then if you want to, like you say, oh, this is a little baby secondary. Everybody's 5'11", and like throw Devon Vele out there too.
Yeah.
Like you have those options. That's what Sean's all about is those matchups. Yeah, I love the idea of him as like a big slot too. Yeah. Like after it didn't really cross my mind because you see him and you're like, yep, big outside receiver. He's playing the boundary. And then Lance Zierlein maybe did a write-up where he said that might be where he's at his best because you just draw those mismatches inside. Like, again, Jaquan McMillan, great corner. In some ways, kind of your prototype top slot corner. Mm-hmm. A little bit smaller, physical, could play the run game. You put 5'9" Jaquan on 6'4" and an 8th Tetoria McMillan. It's just a massive mismatch that you feel like you're going to win. So I personally love it. And I mentioned last week, Sean likes those tall receivers with short legs because he thinks they're quicker and can change directions.
Yeah.
Tetoria McMillan, that's a long torso. I'd be curious to hear what Sean says about it. But yeah, exactly. It's a huge target, which is what Sean's all about.
Yep. Easily physically the most impressive player I saw at Big 12 Media Days last year.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that means something. Like I remember seeing Kayvon Thibodeau when I was there, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, what is this guy?" It's like because he gets 6'6", just like built like a house. Even Justin Herbert, seeing him there, you're like, "Oh, I get why this guy's an NFL prospect because he's just like this. He's a giant."
Yeah, my Bo Nix takeaway from 2 years ago when I saw him was just like, this dude is he just embodies what it means to be QB1.
Totally,
like everything, the way that he dressed, the way that he walked, the way that he talked, the way that the way that people came up to him and he went up to people. It was just like, oh, that's just a quarterback.
And that's the piece that I think I missed out on most before the draft is like, he does just have that perfect, like he's not afraid to scream at a running back for running the wrong route. He's not afraid to like do those things that, I don't know, like to me personally, if I go out there and it's like, oh, Troy, you're a rookie. Like you ran the out instead of the slant. Like, come on, but like, it's all right. Just make sure you get right next time. That's not Bo. And sometimes what you need is to be like, dude, what the F? You can't be doing this. Like, get on the bench. Like, we'll deal with it next,
Yeah.
And he has like that perfect balance of all those different things, which so much, you've probably heard this before, so much of playing quarterback is mental, but I think people forget that part of that is like the interactions with others and not just, can you be the robot?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I could go back and change something about pre-draft last year, it's I would have just said like, yeah, whoever Sean Payton wants, I'm cool with.
Yeah,
At quarterback.
totally.
Like
100%.
And I guess if you think about it though, like the trust I have in him now is very different from the trust I had in him then. We didn't really have anything to put that on other than
Also
like
true.
He made Russ's stats look really good.
He did.
But like this dude's in the last leg of his coaching career. He's going to plant his flag somewhere.
Yep.
And then he's going to make sure that he's right about it.
Yep. Again, like to go back to Harbaugh, that's where I have in some ways that about Harbaugh as well. When it's like, I'm not the hugest Najee Harris fan, but if Jim Harbaugh is going to say
I
like,
think you are the hugest Najee Harris fan.
it's crazy how I went from the Najee Harris hater to like the flip side of that in like that 24-hour span. But yeah, as a somebody who doesn't appreciate Najee Harris, having Jim Harbaugh say like, yeah, we're power running, we're everybody's going to be 320, 330 up front, just massive, we're going to move people, and I want Najee Harris to be the guy running behind that. Like there's some of that to me there too, where it's like, hey, if you say that that's the guy to do that, I'm not going to say no.
Until I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Even Evan Ingram with the Broncos too. It's like, I think I was excited by the idea of Evan Ingram as a Bronco. The fact that Sean Payton said, this is the guy I want to be my tight end.
My joker.
Now you're like, oh, this is going to be incredible because he knows that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, everything Evan Ingram's done since then too tells me that like whatever Sean Payton said to him, he thinks he's about to have a career year.
I wish I could have been in that room because you just know, like, if you're Sean Payton, you start by explaining what the joker position is and say like, this is what we want you to do. We don't really want you to block. We want you to run like these slant, all this sort of stuff, like 114 catches. That's what we're all about. And then from there, you just start repeating names like Jimmy Graham and then Jason Witten and Jeremy Shockey, and just go through like this whole like cycle of all those guys. Like if you're Evan Ingram, just hearing like, yeah, we want you to be our Jeremy Shockey. Like,
yeah,
sign me up. Of course.
Yeah. I hope Evan Ingram. Actually, Evan Ingram was in New York, so he knows Jeremy Shockey.
He does. Yes.
Yeah, it's that's exciting to me about that is like Evan Ingram, I think, thinks that he's about to go for 115 catches and 1,000 yards.
Yes, which is what you want. And I guess the only concern is that you get like 3 weeks in and things aren't clicking. Could that trigger a spiral? I don't think so. I don't think any more than it would if he had normal expectations.
They didn't spiral last year after the beginning of the season, and
I spiraled.
I don't think they're ever going to spiral. I think we all spiraled.
Everybody spiraled. I remember conversations at the practice facility. I can't remember at what point, but probably right around there. That very low point where it's like, wait, is their only competitive game going to be against the Panthers? It's like, could this really be like a 1-win team? And even that sounds like a challenge. Yeah. And to go from there to...
Well, and that was going into the Bucs game?
Yeah.
And then they just like blow out the Bucs, and everything we thought is thrown on its head.
That was confusing. That was
so
confusing. It'd be so nice to get a hot start. Because that used to be a guarantee here. It used to be every single year. Like, what was the record in home openers? It was like 21 years or something.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. And even Rockies start this week. There were those years, like I would have been in high school, where it's like, wait, they started 10-0. Oh,
they
started like 14.
Called it the June swoon because they were good through April and May.
And so they at least like get you going. And that's where like you had a chance all the way through. If the Broncos can get that start nailed, then all of a sudden you're not playing with house money necessarily, but it's pretty close to that feeling.
Well, especially the way that they've finished the last couple of years. Like Sean Payton has showed over the last couple of years that his team gets stronger throughout the season, and like his scheming and all of that gets better.
Yeah, I remember. Wow, here's a question. This is either a story told to me by Brett Rippon or a story told to you by Brett Rippon, who told me.
All right.
So let's see if this happened to you or to me.
Okay.
Quarterbacks coach Shula, who I did not. But he could have thrown back. Said that in the NFL, that's basically a series of 4-week seasons.
Okay. This wasn't me.
Okay. So Brett Rippon told me. So there are a series of 4-week seasons and they all start fresh. And so it's all about like, can you nail this week? Because the league just progresses as the season goes along. Like they get to know each other. They know their strengths and weaknesses. There's a different level of scouting that you can do based on each stretch. And so the idea is that the league totally changes every 4 weeks.
Wow.
And so you have to nail the first 4 weeks. You have to nail the next 4 weeks. You have to nail the next 4 weeks. Brett Rippon was the best.
Smart kid.
Yeah. Even like talking about the wristband. Like it was when Russ put that wristband on, which caused a meltdown because it's like, oh, you're 35 and wearing a wristband.
Yeah.
But he was like, because I asked him like, yeah, so what's up with the wristband? Like, I just saw you weren't wearing one out there today. He's like, oh, I just forgot to bring it out. But want to know why it works? I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, do you have a timer? I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, time this. And so he just reads out a play call, and it's like, oh, that's like 11 seconds. And he's like, here's what I can say from the wristband. Or no, because it was, here's the coach saying it to me. I repeat it to the coach. Coach says it again. I say it there. And now it's, he says the number. I say the number back. He says the number, and then I go and say it. And so you time it. It's like, oh, yeah, you just got added an extra 10 seconds at the line of scrimmage. Point is, Brett Rippon is the best.
Yeah, well, and that 10 seconds was pretty important in the Russ era.
It really was. There were some close calls there, some that did not go their way.
100%. Okay, get your questions in.
Yeah.
Also hit us with a thumbs up. It'd be cool if we had like 500 thumbs up, and then when Zach comes back, he's like, what did you guys do?
Wow. We actually should do that. Everybody thumbs us up.
Everyone hit us with a thumbs up so we can tell Zach that we like cracked some code that he couldn't.
Rapid fire draft props?
Yes.
Okay. Filter in a hot take if you have one.
Cool.
Number 1 overall pick. Cam Ward minus 500. Is it a lock?
No.
I agree. Not a lock. Where do you go? Abdul Carter plus 400. Travis Hunter 1800.
Travis
Shedeur,
Hunter
25. Okay.
And I also have there's a little bit of Shedeur that I still have low. I think there's one more like swing in the Shedeur story.
I could agree.
And I think that story is going to be like the Titans are back to like deciding between Shedeur and Cam Ward. Well, it looked like Cam Ward for a while. They're kind of liking what they're, the latest feelings on Shedeur. But I do think Travis Hunter, and maybe I'm just over analyzing, which we always do. But the comment, if there's a generational player at one, we're not going to pass on him. There's only one.
There is. Abdul Carter, good pass rusher. There are a lot. They're guys who are kind of just like him.
Yes.
Yeah. Travis Hunter, never before.
One of one.
If you want to get nitpicky, you'd say like, Champ Bailey was kind of that. Guess what? Generation ago. So there you go. Number 2 pick, Abdul Carter, favorite, minus 125 though. So here's where it really opens up. Plus 150 for Sanders, plus 800 for Hunter, plus 1,000 for Ward.
I got Shedeur there.
Okay. I like it. Plus 150. Feel like that's safe too. So like if it is just Cam Ward 1, quarterback 2 is an easy bet. Yeah. First non-quarterback selected, Travis Hunter plus 275 behind Abdul Carter at minus 350. Wow. Is this our favorite bet?
Yeah, I really like that bet.
Yep. All these are from Bet365, our best friends, by the way. So jump on there if you hear anything.
By the way, Bet365 saved us last night in the Oregon game because of the 15-point payout.
I know. There were a couple that came close. So like McNeese went up on Clemson, got the early payout, and they only won by 2. Drake only won by like 3 at the end in their first round game. Yep. Didn't wind up needing the early payout, but that one we did.
It's the first one, and I wasn't even watching. I pretty much watched every game of the tournament. I was just like so defeated by the end of last night that I was like, I'm just gonna eat dinner and like not even look at this. And then I just looked down at my phone and I had the payout. I was like, what game is this even from?
Yep. I'm in a low point with college basketball right now.
Me too.
Which is really sad. It's
the lowest I've ever felt.
Which is not what I want to be saying on March 24th.
I know.
That should be a high point. We
got nothing, bro.
We got nothing.
Nothing in the first 2 rounds that like get you going.
No. And it's one of those where it's just like if Robert Morris would have pulled it off.
Like Arkansas, coached by John Calipari, is our Cinderella.
Big dog. Yeah, that's our Cinderella. John Calipari, Mr. Cinderella. Team to draft Ashton Jeanty. Raiders plus 140. Bears plus 150. Cowboys plus 600. 49ers plus 1,200. Broncos plus 1,600.
I kind of like the Bears bet there if I'm making a bet.
Yeah. Bears and Raiders. Raiders might be overplayed.
That's my thing there. It's like maybe the Raiders have just gotten to make like everyone wants that, and it feels like that never happens.
Mm-hmm. We don't need to do exact position of Mr. Irrelevant unless you have a strong feeling.
Quarterback.
Okay. Everybody wants their Brock Purdy. You can get that at 8-1 odds.
That's pretty good.
Quarterback to be taken number 1 overall minus 550. Plus 350 on the no.
Well, no, because you just take Travis if you want that, in my opinion.
First offensive lineman drafted, Armand Membo, minus 180. That's probably a safe bet. Will Campbell, plus 160. Kelvin Banks, plus 550. So In the near future, we're debuting our top 100, DNVR's top 100 for the draft for the Broncos.
Love that.
Some tough conversations about some of these linemen. Where you say like, okay, Armand Membo, best lineman in the draft, still there at 20. Can you pass him up? You can't pass him up if Jeanty's on the board. But then how does he compare with like T-Mac, Burden, Igbuka, Hampton? And those are some weird questions that get you going.
Yeah. It is. I just keep coming back to Sean is going for it right now.
True.
And so you're going to probably get a place where you have a bigger hole.
Probably. We'll be talking about that more later this week, though. Plus 850 for Shedeur to be the first quarterback drafted. If you think there's a swing, maybe you could even cash out or hedge it out.
Interesting. It
is interesting.
That is a good bet.
Plus 1200 on Hampton to be the first running back drafted.
No.
I don't think I'm tempted. Minus 700 for Tyler Warren to be first tight end. Plus 400 for Colston Loveland.
Huh. No.
I will say, so me and Dre on the draft pod were very, very high on Tyler Warren in like late October, but not as high as everybody else is now. At the time, it was like, hey, we could take him at 20. Like that could be like a real good value pick. He has swung so far up that board to being top 10. And there's some of those questions like, what would happen if he didn't have his hair? You know, but it's just like some of that sort of stuff where it's like he really nails the aesthetic, said the word right, of like tight end, where it's like all these different things that all add up and you're just like, this guy's perfect. Maybe he just is.
I would say I'm probably in like the lower 10 percentile on him.
I think I might be now too. And my opinion hasn't changed from then to now.
It's just
everyone else is just going crazy for him.
I don't like when something happens in a last year's draft that makes people start to think that means it's going to happen in this year's draft. In the previous several years, drafting a tight end in the first round has not been the move.
Totally.
Brock Bowers happens, and now everyone's like, oh, it's always been the move.
Yep.
And it's like, well, no, that was one very rare example. And people forget that before everyone saw that picture of him where he's like balding and looked unathletic.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, this is like the most athletic tight end prospect that we've seen.
Yeah, since his freshman year, we knew he was number one. And again, you go to Colston Loveland and say his freshman year, the way he finished at Michigan, again, it was, I've said it before, but I remember watching him play and saying like, oh my goodness, is this guy going to be in this draft? Broncos need to go get him. He was 18 years old at the time. And so just like Brock Bowers, you wait a couple years and say like, he's going to be a first round pick. He's going to be a first round pick, And now here we are. Like that's just a straight blue chip prospect who weighed in at 248 pounds, 6'6", only 21 years old, looks skinny. Like that might actually be the guy who 5 years from now you look back on and say like that guy was the monster here.
Yeah, and in saying that on Tyler Warren, if the Broncos were to draft him, I would be hyped.
Yeah, totally.
Because again, my trust in Sean Payton has skyrocketed over the last 365 days.
Yep. And with Evan Ingram, you know, he's your slot receiver, flex him out, all that stuff. And Tyler Warren can do a lot of those things too. But Tyler Warren can also line up in line and block. Yeah. And so there are going to be situations you'd rather have him on the field. 2 tight end sets, you probably want him on the field. Unless, you know, Ingram's flexed out and it's a sneaky pass set. But I think there is room for both if for some reason he fell. And I would like that, but I agree. The people have swung too far.
I think so too.
First linebacker drafted, Jalen Walker, Jihad Campbell. That's kind of it. Minus 300 then plus 225. And then last one, first safety drafted, Nick Emenwari only minus 130. Malachi Starks plus 110. Emenwari would be a good bet.
Yeah, I like the bet. We'll have a bunch more draft bets as we get closer. That's kind of Dre's specialty.
It really is.
Yep.
Like Michael Penix being the 8th overall pick last year.
It's sad.
That one, the 40-1 was pretty crazy. Who would have said he's going to the Falcons?
Dre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Palmer also.
Yeah, I mean, betting on the underdogs in March used to be one of our things too.
What a sad time.
I think coming into the tournament, we were a career plus 36 units.
Is that what it was?
Across 3 years on this.
Yep.
And if we don't have a couple bounces go our way, we could undo all of that this year.
No, it's very possible. No, I had a moment before the second round started where I was like, is this a cut my losses time? And I was like, Nope. We got one more day, and then things.
I was all the
It was
way
better.
to that point last night.
Last night got you?
And Dre kind of talks me out of it.
Interesting. Okay.
He was like, what do you stand for if not the dogs? And I was like, that's true.
Wow. It's dark.
Yeah.
Dog the bounty.
But the good thing is we're going to get some really good matchups. It's going to be like plus 100 versus minus 110. And so we're not going to like necessarily get all of our money back.
Yeah.
But we might be able to just like stack some wins on pretty even matchups.
That's not how the dogs have worked in the past, though.
No, but
the dogs have
all
paid
the dogs
themselves
are
with like
gone.
12-1. I know. All the dogs are dead.
Yes.
Dogs are extinct now.
Yes.
If you still got your dog out there, give it a hug because it's gonna be gone any minute.
I think they got eaten, right?
Yeah, got eaten by the.
Somewhere in Ohio.
Yeah,
Anyways,
they did get eaten. They are. They're eating the pet. Yeah, the dogs are. Say goodbye to all your dogs.
the dog. Oh God, we just needed one like UNC Wilmington,
I know.
and we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. Robert Morris
was right there.
We wouldn't even be. We'd be like,
UC
yeah, great
San
weekend.
Diego came back.
That wasn't that big though.
Okay, that is true.
All right, let's get to these questions here
The questions
from the people. First one from Sebastian. Do you think the Broncos would trade their first round pick for both of the Bears' early second round picks? No.
Bears at 39, 41. Value wise, you'd be getting plus value.
Sean Payton wise.
He will never, ever trade down
until he does.
And then all of a sudden we throw it out the window, and every year we say like, "Hey, of his last
Traded
one
down last year.
he's on a streak."
Yeah. Next one is from where are we here? Oh, from Zach. Do you guys really think Shedeur is on the same level as Cam Ward? Seems like Ward is quite a bit better, and most analysts rate him a lot higher as well. I see it the exact opposite. Not only is he on the same level, I think he's on a higher level.
Yeah, I personally am not a huge fan of either. I think Cam Ward, like the accuracy issues, all that sort of stuff, to me seems kind of untouchable in the first round. Like, he's big, he's strong, he's fast, he has a cannon, but look at where that ball placement is because it is not impressive. Then Shedeur, it's like
the opposite.
Exactly. It's like I trust him before the snap. I think he could outsmart anybody. I think like if you're looking for Brock Purdy, I feel very confident saying Shedeur Sanders can be Brock Purdy. Now, is there an upside there? Like, can he dodge some of those sacks? Like, there were some risky throws I thought they kind of got bailed out on because he has really good receivers, and I think those receivers might be what I love in that offense more than the quarterback. But in terms of one or the other, I'd go Shedeur. And if I needed a quarterback, like I'm still drafting a quarterback if I'm up there.
Yeah, to me, it's the combination of everything. The accuracy is number one.
Yep.
Statistically, the most accurate quarterback in the history of college football.
That does count for something.
By the way, the person he passed for that was Bo Nix.
Yeah, and we all saw how that translated.
Yes. And then it's just the understanding of the game, growing up in the game. His nickname has been Grown since he was like 10 years old because he's so mature in the way that he carried himself and the way that he understood the game. He always acted like he was a quarterback. Like, those things actually do matter.
You put Shedeur in Cam Ward's body, and all of a sudden we're saying like, yeah, number one, easy pick.
Or more, crazier than that.
Or crazier than that.
And then I've just seen the way that he plays, and he's such a dog. He's so tough. He can make every throw. I have no idea where it's coming from that he can't make every throw. We saw the chart come out. He's green to damn near every part of the field. And then actually getting to know him personally, the like things that are out there about him as a person couldn't be more wrong, in my opinion. Having, talked to him and having several conversations with him, he's a great kid. And he has fun with it on the field because he's an entertainer, and that rubs some people the wrong way. But actually, behind the scenes, he's beloved by his teammates, his coaches. He works his ass off. It's easy for me.
And going back to Bo, I mean, there were some arm strength questions there too. And not that, similar to Shedeur, I think that it isn't that he doesn't have good enough arm strength. It's that he just doesn't have special arm strength. And arm strength creates margin for error. Like, you watch Matt Stafford, we're talking about with Cooper Kupp, and we wanted Cooper Kupp to come here. All those like outbreaking routes, just on a line, just fires it to the sideline before anybody can break on that. And those are the tough throws where you need that arm strength. Yep. You watch Bo last year, and how many times do we see Devon Vele on a quick out just take the bullet on the sideline? Like, hey, there is plenty there. It may not be like he'll just dodge
Josh
up all
Allen
over the place.
howitzer.
Exactly. And I wonder if Shedeur will be the same thing.
All right, we're going to go to overtime here in just a few seconds. The conversation continues on DNVR.com if you're watching on your TV. Couple super chats real quick from TBD. Thoughts on DJ Giddens? RK knows him well. Nasty.
Yep.
He was awesome. I mean, all of the running backs in the Big 12 were awesome this year.
They were.
It felt like every week we were saying on the Buffs show, like, stop the run, win the game. And when they did, they did. And when they didn't, they didn't. DJ Giddens was one where they didn't. And he was seemingly unstoppable in that game. And what I was most impressed with was like the short area, like in a phone booth, wiggle his way out of it type of moves. There's plenty of times where I felt like our linebacker was coming down right through the hole and he just like wiggled out of it and went and had himself a big play. He is one of a dozen running backs that I would take.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, like, DJ Giddens, Caleb Johnson, Damian Martinez, Devin Neal, like, there are just so many of those guys that you got to put in some order. And that's why waiting till second round, third round, even again, if I was running the Broncos, the idea of trading down and getting two of those guys in that range and still having like a second round pick to use on another position, it is appealing. But, you know, Sean Payton doesn't do that. So we'll see. To me, it's either trade up for Jeanty or go down the second or third. I'm having flashbacks of saying, like, I don't really want Bo Nix here. And all along, it was just Bo Nix the whole way. It's like, I don't really want Omarion Hampton in the first round. And it does kind of feel like it's going to be that same burning feeling.
Maybe. And then you're going to have to learn that it's pronounced Omarion.
Omarion, yes. Is that how the singer said it?
I think that was Omarion.
Omarion. Okay. It's the exact,
All right. Last one here from Dante says a little, what does it say? A little tidbit RK would like. The first year in the NFL common era where all teams have their first round pick at the start of the new league year.
Yeah.
That is a fun little tidbit.
No, it's pretty crazy. Every team has a first round pick. It also makes it harder to like predict the trades because it's a lot easier. Like say the Broncos also had like the 28th pick. They'd be like, oh, here's a team that could trade up because they got these two first round picks that can move up, or even like you got two at the top, you can move one back. But instead, it's like, who is willing to trade? Nobody has any extra big time ammunition.
Right. Or no one's desperate to get back in.
True. Yeah, exactly.
That is interesting. All right. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right.
I think we hit it.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in. This was fun. Zach's back tomorrow, I believe.
I believe so as well.
All right. We'll see him then. We'll see you guys then as well. See you later.
We all silly like the mayor.